All right. Is my screen full? Is it a full screen?
It's not full screen yet, so you can switch to full screen mode. Good. It's now on full screen now.
All right.
Okay. So, participant, thank you so much for your presence this afternoon. This afternoon, we are privileged to have one of our own, very seasoned. He has been in the teaching profession for about 30 years. And interestingly enough, he has experience, from the basic education, the second cycle, up to the tertiary level. He is a senior lecturer in the Department of Psychology Education, right?
Now counseling psychology.
Yes, Department of Counseling Psychology. Very soon you will hear that he's Professor Eshun, but let's shelve that. You'll hear it soon. Yes, he's done a lot of scholarly work in terms of assessment techniques and what have you. In fact, for this presentation, I think he's the best person to stand in to do this for us this afternoon. So kindly join me to welcome Dr. Peter Eshun to present to us. Dr. Eshun, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we are grateful. And we know you are going to refresh us this afternoon. So, listeners, we give Honorable Dr. Eshun the podium.
Honorable is for politicians. We have academic. All right, that's just by the way. All right, thank you, Jenny. Good afternoon, honorable members. I hope your mics are on the mute mode because we need to have it so that we can have a smooth conversation. Yes, as you see on the screen, it's preparing for promotion. But as I was contacted and the way I understood it, yes, I should still prepare for promotion. It's still part of professional development. So we are going to discuss issue concerning assessment in the broad perspective. As we do that, at least we will pick certain basic things that will help us to get the basic knowledge so that when we meet whatever we need to respond to in terms of whatever issues that concern promotion, we can do it. Let me start by saying that I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this group. When the information was sent out, I didn't even know that I have some people out there. So people started calling me. You've seen your whatever name there. So no, I'm with you. So that is it. So I think that it will be. We are going to have interaction. I will plead that you allow me to just touch on some basic things that I want us to touch on. Then now we will have the conversation. Whatever concerns, whatever we are going to discuss. Nobody's going to teach anybody. This is not a lecture hall. I told Shane that it's not a lecture. I am only going to hit on some basic things that I think, looking at the nature of questions they ask, so far as promotion is concerned, I think that we need to have that basic knowledge. If there are any other issues, I'm told that you have series of it. So at the end of the day, when there's something specific that we need to discuss, we all decide as the time that you have for those discussions. But I think for this one, basically, is the basic things when it comes to assessment practices that we are going to discuss. So let's move on. As you see from your general objective, as it was given by your association, the first is to create awareness of teacher education policies among teachers, to examine the essence of teacher education policies, then to contribute to continuous professional development of teachers, and then promote professional teaching standards. I think per this afternoon's conversation, I'm very much interested in the bottom two, because whatever we'll be discussing, yes, is part of the continuous professional development, CPD, yes, and also promote professional teaching standards, yes. So it's in line. The broad thing is assessment techniques, but we need to start from somewhere. We need to start. And as I said earlier on, it's not a lecture that I'm now going to tell you what certain things are. But I want to start by just refreshing our memories. This one is just refreshing because we know them already. But as we are preparing for promotion, as the broad team is concerned, we need to refresh ourselves. So we need to start from somewhere. So I have my specific objectives that we need to just start from meaning of assessment and related concepts, where we look at tests, measurement, evaluation. I brought this because, as we all know, we use all these terms simultaneously. We interchange them. But whether they mean the same or not is another issue. And maybe we know, but we just do it. So we need to refresh ourselves so that in the course of going for our promotional whatever, if we meet questions that demand that we do things the right way, we won't be confused because some of us finished our program some years back, and I think we are still thinking that all are the same. So we just refresh ourselves, the meaning of assessment and then related concepts. That is test, measurement, evaluation. Then we move on to purpose of assessment. Um, you have assessment of learning, assessment for learning, assessment as learning. I think those of you who are following the current trend with this new change in our curriculum, you realize that these issues of purpose of assessment plays a key role. But at least you should know what we want to achieve with assessment. Yes, the techniques themselves, yes, we can use them. But as we are preparing for promotion, we need those basics knowledge, and then that will shape us. So that, as I said earlier on, if you have any special thing to talk about, you have time to talk about those specialities. So let's start from broad and then see what we can do so far as this section is concerned. And I hope you give me the necessary support so that you have a very fruitful discussion. As I said, it's a discussion. Nobody's going to teach anybody anything. No, we are, or we know only that maybe some of the things we've forgotten. So we are only going to refresh our memories. All right. With that, let's start. The first, meaning of assessment and related concepts. Let me now let participants understand that we are not going to go strictly academic. We talk general, we know what we are in for, we get the basic knowledge. When we get to the question time, whatever that we have, we ask for clarification. So someone will say, what is assessment? I would say that assessment is a broad term. It is very broad. Assessment is broad. And it's a term, if you want to define it, it is a process. When we talk of assessment, it is a process. And what is that process? That process is for obtaining information that is used for making decisions. The process, assessment is a process, and that process for obtaining information that is used for decisions or making decisions. So we don't just obtain information, we obtain information for decision making. And what kind of decision making are we talking about? So it is making decisions about students, about their curricula and programs and educational policies. So when we are talking of assessment, it's not only about students. Maybe in the course of our presentation, we'll be focusing more on the classroom situation because basically we find ourselves in the classroom. But the process through which we gather information to help us to make informed decisions about students, about the curriculum and programs, and about our educational policies. That is what we term as assessment. So assessment is broad. Others will say assessment is the systematic collection, review, and use of information about educational programs. I'm narrowing down to education because whatever we'll be discussing is more of education. Undertaken for the purpose of improving students' learning and development. We collect information, we review it, and we use those information about educational programs undertaken by the student for the purpose of improving student learning and development. When we are discussing assessment issues, we should be, especially in the educational sector, we should be very careful. We should know that assessment starts when you set your targets. When you set your target, that's where assessment also starts. The moment you have your goals and objectives, that's the beginning of the assessment process. And the focus is to improve student learning and development. So it's a systematic collection, review, and use of information about our educational programs undertaken for the purpose of improving student learning and development. Others will say that in education, the term assessment refers to the wide variety of methods or tools that educators use to measure, evaluate, and document the academic readiness, learning progress, skill acquisition, or educational needs of our students. So the focus here is that you see that we are focusing more on the students. A variety of methods or tools. We were talking about some of these methods or tools. So basically, when we talk of assessment, as I started, it's a very broad term. Only that we interchange it with some of the related concepts in the whole assessment process. So that is the basic thing. It is a broad term, and it's a process. That process that we go through to gather information. In this situation, from our students, so that it will help us to make informed decisions on them. That is what assessment is all about. So when we are talking about assessment method, it encompasses all the strategies and techniques that might be used to collect information from students about their progress towards attaining the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors to be learned. Don't forget that our focus, all that we are doing as teachers, is to help the student to build on their knowledge, their skills, and attitude. The domains, which we all know, the three domains which are interrelated, the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor. We are developing the student along these lines. And we have methods, we have strategies and techniques that we go through to gather information to know how they are progressing. And that is the focus of assessment. And these strategies and techniques include, but not limited to, we can observe, we can give them tests, whatever we do in schools, we print questions for them to respond to. In assessment practice, we say paper and pencil tests. It can be oral questioning. It can be interviews, can be a performance task, can be exhibitions in arts. We have exhibitions. We ask our students to prepare portfolios. They do projects, product assessments. So it's unfortunate that maybe in our part of the world, we always hide behind the resources and we only use tests, and in our area of arts, we use exhibitions and whatever portfolio building. But we have a lot of strategies that we can use in our assessment process. We'll be talking about some of this as we move around. So That is basically what assessment is talking about. It's a broad term that when we set up that process of gathering information, the intention of gathering information about our students, let me restrict whatever discussion to the students so that we can review those information to help us to make informed decisions about these students. That is what we refer to as assessment. And we may have various decisions that we make out of this information that we gather. We can even use it to manage our instruction, the way we do our presentations in class, whether to change our methodology, whether it's suiting our students or not. I keep on telling the people I encounter that when we talk of assessment, sometimes we forget that our students that we meet, they also have their own learning styles. So sometimes we need to also tailor our assessment practices towards the learning styles of our students. So that is basically what assessment is. And it's having related concepts, which you've been using the terms interchangeably. But let's use a little time to see whether we can draw a thin line between those terms. So let's move on to related concepts in assessment. And let me start with the first one, test. When we say test, in assessment practice, test connotes the presentation of standard set of questions to be answered. It's one of the tools within the assessment process. When you give set of questions to our students to respond to, that is test. And assessment is broader than just mere testing your students. It's part of the process. So when we are giving our set of questions to our students to respond to, a set of tasks to our students to respond to, we are testing them. That doesn't mean that is the whole process of assessment. And sometimes these are some of the misconceptions that some of us carry. Because of that, we don't look elsewhere for other techniques in the assessment process. Tests can have different classifications for tests. The use of the test, we can have different classification for it. Then the nature of the test. So we hear people talking about tests differently, different classification. But basically, it has to do with the purpose, the uses, and then the nature. So let's briefly talk about let's look at what I'm talking about. If you say you are talking about, please, can you mute people? I think someone is working and listening at the same time. And we are having a feedback.
Dr. Eshun, please unmute yourself.
All right, can you move on?
Yeah, we can go on.
Thank you. So when we use purpose as a criteria, we can have something like achievement tests. And I know that when we talk of achievement tests, it's not new to those of us here. And what is achievement test? When we say achievement test, what it means is that if you look at our structure of our educational sector, we have the subject curriculum. I'm saying subject curriculum, I'm not saying syllabus because we are in a new era and I know colleagues are aware of what is going on. When you pick them, you have specific content for students to cover within that particular subject. And at the end of the day, you test them based on that content. What are you looking for? You want to find out whether they've been able to gain something out of whatever instruction that you took them through. So you want to find out whether they've achieved something. So most of the tests that we conduct in our schools are achievement tests, because we take them through some content areas, then we set questions on those content areas to find out whether they've been able to gain some kind of knowledge within that content area. So in our schools, most of our tests, that's our purpose. So we can have achievement tests. And in our schools, we have most of the tests that we conduct there are achievement tests, because we teach and we set questions on whatever that we took them through. And as achievement tests, most of the things we do in schools, they are teacher-made achievement tests, because we construct them ourselves. But we have situations that we have examining bodies like WAEC in our situation, who will still set questions on whatever that the students were taught. But those questions will be set by experts. Even if WAEC questions are set by classroom teachers, we have experts who moderate them. So at the end of the day, the questions will come from experts. They will come with a manual that shows that it should have a uniform way of administering the test, uniform way of scoring, and uniform way of interpreting the scores. That one will be considered as standardized achievement test. But most of the tests that we construct in our schools, they are teacher-made achievement tests, because we have a specific content, we take them through, then we set questions on those specific content to find out whether they've been able to achieve something. But let me chip in this one. If you are conducting achievement test, that's your purpose. One of the major principles is that you don't set questions on things that you know are not part of the content that you took them through. I'm stressing on that because I know what teachers are doing, and you know, achievement tests, some will even set questions and say some questions are not meant for students to answer. No, it's wrong. All right, so we need to. That is the purpose. If we set our test and we want to use that test to find out the strengths and weaknesses of our students, then in a way we are using that test to diagnose the students. So we will refer to it as a diagnostic test. I think when I was going through some of the past questions for promotion, I came across a question like that. Because if that test is for you to find out the strengths and weaknesses of your students, then it's a diagnostic test. Because you are using that test to diagnose the student, to know where they are weak and where they are strong. So that would be a diagnostic test. Then we can even have aptitude tests. When we say aptitude, you are using that test to find out from the current crop of your student, maybe they want to go in for a specific program, whether they have what it takes to do what is ahead of them. That is aptitude test. So we can continue. So we can classify tests when we are using purpose in some of these ways. When we are using the uses, then we may have norm reference tests, and then we may also have criterion reference tests. Let me quickly go through the difference between these two. When we say norm, we are referring to the crop of learners who took the test. That's the norm group. So it's like you are making reference to the group, the performance of the group. And as I was also reading the questions, I came across some of these things, the norm and the criteria. When we say norm, we are referring to those who took the test. So if in your class, you are teaching secondary school Form 1 class, and you give your test to your Form 1 class, those who took the test becomes the norm group. So you can now say that someone is first. First from where? The group that took the test. Someone is last. Last from where? The group that took the test. You did better than 40% of the group. You did better than 1/3 of the group. You are making reference to the group. That is what we refer to as the norm reference. And the kind of position that we do with the scores from the test, what have you, is norm. And let me also emphasize that when we make interpretation using the norm, it will not tell us the actual ability of the learner. Because if someone will say the one-eyed man in the midst of the blind is a champion because he or she can see at least with the one eye. So if we are making norm reference interpretation and then we say you are the best. Yes, you are the best depending on the group, the norm group. But we will not know your ability. So when we say norm reference, that is what we mean. But when we say criterion reference, criterion means standard. Criterion means standard. So it meaning that we are making reference to a standard. So when we are talking about the criterion reference, then we are referring to a particular standard. We are not referring to somebody's performance in relation to the group. No, the group's ability. No, we are talking about performance in relation to a standard. So when we are making reference, talking about criterion reference, then we are now talking about the ability of the person because we know the standard. If that person meets the standard, then we know the person can do A, B, C. So as I was reading, going through some of these questions with promotion, I came across this criterion thing and then the norm thing. The norm, we are making reference to those who took part in the assessment process, the testing process. So we're only making reference to the group. But when we say criterion, we are making reference to a standard. So that will tell you the ability of the individual. So if you have a group and then you are doing criterion reference, because you have a standard, it may even happen that the whole group can fail based on the standard, or the whole group can pass based on the standard. So when we are talking about uses, you can classify tests, norm reference tests, or criterion reference tests. We print questions for our students to respond to. In assessment practice, we say paper and pencil test. That's the nature. We have tests that we ask questions, verbal, oral, for people to respond to. That's the nature, oral test. We have performance tasks where hands-on. And in our parts, in arts, we do more of this performance tests where we want people to exhibit a skill for us to see. So basically, when we are talking about tests, it connotes presenting a set of standard set of questions for people to respond to, which is a means through which you gather information. A test is a tool. All right. Now let's move on to another concept in the assessment process, that is measurement. When we talk of measurement, it's the process of quantifying the degree to which someone or something possesses a given characteristic, quality, or feature. The stress is on quantifying. In principle, measurement has to do with quantification, assigning numbers. So when we are talking about you want to measure something, then it means you want to quantify it. You want to assign numbers to that particular trait. So most authorities agree that measurement is the assignment of numbers to traits or characteristics of persons or events according to specific rules. Very important. When we are discussing issues with measurement, we can't take away rules. Because let's go to even our social world. When you go to your tailor or your seamstress and the person say, oh, let me take your measurement, I believe the person will not go for a rope to tie your neck or your waist. The person will go for something which, that is the rule when we talk of measuring the vital statistics of a human being. When you come back to our school situation, when you give your test out to your students, those questions to your students, and then they respond. You don't, when you want to score, you don't just score. The scoring, that take you to the realm of measurement. You want to quantify the responses that they've given you. But you don't just quantify. You use your marking scheme, your scoring key. That is your rule. So we can never discuss the issue of measurement that has to do with quantifying certain characteristics or traits without talking about rules. So measurements, yes, it's a process of quantifying. When we decide to assign numbers to traits, attributes, characteristics, events, then we are in the realm of measurement. But the point I'm making here is that we don't just measure. We measure, we quantify based on rules. That is why even you as a teacher, when we say we are evaluating, evaluation is defined as the process of making a value judgment about the worth of a student product or performance. When you say you are evaluating, you are judging the worth. So evaluation basically goes with judgment. Let me use a typical example. Now, you assign the score of 30, 20, 50, 80, 90. Those scores, in principle, they don't have value. Until you try to put weight on them. Someone had 40. What is the meaning of this 40? This performance of 40? Is this performance of 40 good or bad? Can it help? It is depicting what the student is possessing or not. Then you are now trying to put weight, find the worth of it. That is what we mean by evaluation. So when we say we are evaluating, we are making a value judgment. So evaluation has to do with judgment. And we can evaluate both quantitative and qualitative data. When we try to put value, try to find the worth. If I say qualitative, what I mean is, let me give you a simple example. Maybe somebody has forgotten all these years. What you are an art person. You give your students some kind of drawing to do, and then you have your rubrics. You want to. So in that case, you are not going to assign any number to the rubrics. In such situation, there's no measurement. But you have specific things you want to see about the drawing for you to decide whether it is a good drawing or it's not a good drawing. That is evaluation. That is the qualitative data that you are evaluating. Because you've not assigned any number to make it quantitative. You don't measure it. But you are putting weight, you are judging. So evaluation has to do with judgment. When you talk of evaluation, then you are in a realm of judging the worth of something. That is the basic thing that I want to share this afternoon. So things may be evaluated during development as well as after they are completely developed. So most of us on this platform, You've heard of these two terms, formative evaluation and then summative evaluation. And we do formative in the course of our process of instruction, and not just because we are doing it in the process of instruction, but the focus is that it's formative because the kind of judgment we do should help us to improve, to modify the situation. So formative evaluation is for improvement, modifications. And in principle, in terms of assessment, if you say we are doing formative, there shouldn't be any penalty. People should not be suffering for not doing the right thing that you expect if it is formative. Because your focus is that you are finding the worth of their performance in order to improve and modify situations. But when we say we are doing the summative, that goes with accountability. We normally do summative at the end of a unit, a section, a term, a semester, to find out how much they were able to gain. So we usually use the formative for grading, for certifications. That is where people can be punished. Penalty can come in. So when we say we are really doing formative evaluation, then there shouldn't be any kind of punishment, because the focus of formative evaluation for improvement and modifications. So basically, when we are talking of assessment, that's a broad term, the process through which we gather information for us to help us to make informed decisions about our students, about the curricular program, about our educational policies. And within all these processes that we are talking about, we have related concepts. Only that in daily practice, we try to interchange them. Even if you are just giving tasks to people to respond to, you say, we have assessed them. We can't talk of assessment without ending in decision making. So basically, that is it. Now let's move on to the purposes of assessment. Because in reading through this issue of promotional terms, I came across this. So I thought it wise that it's better for us to have a broad idea about it, so that in future, when we come across some of these things, then we can respond to them accordingly. So for purposes of assessment, we have assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning. And I think with this even new trend, the new curriculum rolling out, this issue of learning for learning as learning is key in this discussions going on. So someone will say that the difference is the of, the for, and then the as, because we still have assessment, we still have learning. But the of, the for, and the as, they have different connotations. So we need to go through them and see what is that assessment of learning. What is that assessment of learning? And that's basically what we normally do in schools. So the purpose of assessment of learning is usually summative. We already talked about summative, accountability. And it's mostly done at the end of a task, a unit of work, at the end of a unit, term, or semester, as I said earlier on. That's what we do. We take them through whatever processes. Then we want to find out how much they've gained. That is what we refer to as assessment of learning, what they have learned. So assessment of learning is designed to provide evidence of achievement to parents, other educators, and students themselves, and sometimes to outside groups. And I love this one. I intentionally put it there because I always, when we meet and we are talking about assessment issues, I always want those of us who are in charge to understand that whatever we do with our learners, we are not the final users of the result. That is why we need to be very careful the way we go about it. Because if you don't do the right thing and you just put anything there, it's going to either affect the learner negatively or positively. You will not be there to explain. So assessment of learning is designed to provide evidence of achievement to parents, other educators, the student themselves, and sometimes to outside groups, employers, other educational institutions. So it is designed primarily to serve the purpose of accountability. And that's what we do in schools. We teach them, we assess them to find out whatever they've been able to achieve. Then we report. So at the end of the day, we give our scores in arts, so and so, in graphic design, in whatever the child was able to get it. And somebody is going to use it to determine the next step for the child. That is assessment of learning for accountability. And we as teachers or educators, we have a role to play in this whole business of assessment of learning. So effective assessment of learning requires that teachers provide a rationale for undertaking a particular assessment of learning at a particular point in time. Unfortunately, because we are in the school setting, and then we have time that we need to do assessment of learning, our focus is that this is the time the school is saying that at this time we need to do this, so we are doing it. But consciously, we don't have a rationale for doing what we are doing. That is why some people, though the term or the semester requirement, we are supposed to finish some area of coverage. We don't do it, but still we end up setting questions on things that we didn't even cover because we don't even have a rationale. We're only following the school rules. But at the end of the day, when we get scores, we use them the way we should use them. So we need to have a rationale for undertaking that particular assessment. Not that because the school is saying we should do it. You need to work within that scope of the school timetable, the school academic calendar, so that you can justify why you did whatever assessment at a particular point in time. Not that they are saying we should do it, that's why I did it. Then we should be clear. There should be clear description of the intended learning. We know what we set out for our students to achieve. We have our objectives. But by the end of the process, they should be able to design so and so. They should be able to mold so and so. They should be able to. So our assessment of learning should be clear what we are assessing. You can't say that, you can't set an objective that by the end of the day, the child should be able to design a poster that will be used for ABC. Then, when you are assessing them, you now ask them to describe how they will design that poster. There are two different things. Setting an objective that they will be able to design and assessing them on the description of how they will design, they are not the same. If you have time, I think you have time for other things. If you should go into issue of validity, it will not be valid. But unfortunately, you will not be there to explain to whoever is using the result that it wasn't the designing of it, but rather the description of it. So we need to be clear on the intended learning. Then the process that makes it possible for the student to demonstrate their competence. That is why I said, I think I will talk to my boss Australia to let us have a time that per our area of specialty. Most of the things we do, we need to go with rubrics. Because hands-on thing, we need to have the right rubrics, what we expect them to do, how we want to do it, and what we want to see before we can decide on them. So maybe there may be another time that we'll just be talking about rubrics, how to set rubrics, because of our area of specialty. Because this issue of assessment things, we take them for granted. We do things anyhow. Then at the end of the day, when we get results, we hold it like egg. Then it affects people. All right, so When we are using a specific mode of assessment, we should be thinking of alternative mechanisms. Are there any possible ways that we can do it? If not, why are we using this one but not the other one? So what the point I'm making here is that as a teacher who is in for assessment of learning, that there can be accountability at the end of the day. Other people are going to use the results. We need to be very careful the way we go about it so that it will not affect our learners. Right. We don't have much time. Let's move on to assessment for learning. Assessment for learning is any assessment for which the first priority in its design and practice is to serve the purpose of promoting people's learning. Assessment for learning is formative. It's for promoting learning. So, assessments for learning involve teachers using evidence about student knowledge, their understanding, and skills to inform their teaching. So we do this as we take them through. We gather this information about this student for us to understand their knowledge, their skills, to inform our teaching. That is it's formative. So when we say assessment of learning needs to be interactive. And you need to identify the particular learning needs of your students. I'm happy that the new curriculum that is rolled out, and they are now rolling out the senior high, the senior secondary school, whatever, is now telling us that we are now facilitators. We need to facilitate learning. So we need to identify a standard.
Hello, Dr. Eshun. Hello, Dr. Eshun. Hello, Dr. Eshun. Hello, Dr. Eshun.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
we have a network challenge, and I think your network.
I think so. My network just went off.
Yeah. So if you'd like to connect again and get back, listeners, we are on commercial break. It's trying to connect, and when you connect, we'll go back on live, do the recording.
Okay. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Doc.
Are you okay now?
You
are connecting, eh? Okay. All right.
Okay, so please share your screen.
I've shared it.
Hello, participant. Can you see the screen? No, they are not seeing. Participant, can you see the screen? Yeah, we can see it, sharing now. Okay, so go to full screen mode. Go to full screen mode.
Right. Is it okay now?
Thank you. And
so we can continue.
Yeah, we can. If you can go back to assessment of learning.
No, we are now here, assessment for learning.
Yeah, I mean assessment of learning, because that was where the network was not,
Oh, okay. It was, so the 4 was not even, when I started the 4, we were not hearing it.
So the network began misbehaving at that point. So if you can do us a favor, quickly. Thank you.
So, of learning?
Yes, my lord.
I think,
no,
it's at this point, for learning.
Yeah, for learning, sir. Assessment for learning.
So we got to, we got here, right?
Yes, for learning.
Happy that with this new curriculum that they roll out, we are now saying that we are facilitators. We are being referred to as facilitators. So we are to facilitate learning. So we need to know the needs of the learners. Because if you want to improve somebody's performance, you want to modify things to suit a learner, then you need to pay particular attention to the learning needs of those individuals. Then we need to select and adapt materials and resources. You see, every group that we meet, we need to see them as unique. We need to put them in context. So it's not all material that we select that will be suitable for them. You need to adapt. And we know we have to adopt and to adapt. But we need to adapt. We need to do things to suit them. It's not all the resources that will be okay for them. And then I was talking about creating differentiated teaching. Now we are now talking about standards. The new curriculum is standard based, unlike the old one, which was objective based. So we are now talking about standards. So we are dealing with standards. And if we are dealing with standards, then we need to treat individuals as individuals. We can no longer go with, if this number of people are with me, then consider it done. No. We need to look at the abilities of the individuals and then let them move at their own pace. We need to facilitate their movements so that at the end of the day, they will all meet that standard. That is if we are doing assessment for learning, formative, to improve and modify situation. And we need to provide immediate feedback and direction to students. Very important. Sometimes when I go for workshops, I say, if you are not ready to give tasks to students to do, don't give it to them. It's very suicidal for you to give tasks to students and you not give them feedback. It would have been better for you not to give them the task. Because if you don't give them the feedback, how would they know whether they've done the right thing for them to improve on it? So for assessment for learning, feedback is very important because it's formative. They need to know because you want to improve, you want to modify situations. So that is it. Then the last but not the least is assessment as learning. I'm stressing because of the nature of questions I saw, so that people have that broad knowledge, so that no matter how they trace, they will be able to respond to it. Now, when we say assessment as learning occurs when students are their own assessors. I'm repeating, it occurs when students are their own assessors. I'm saying when students are their own assessors because when we say assessment as learning, it's now students are assessing themselves, they know themselves, so they are using assessment for their own progress. So students monitor their own learning, asking questions, and use a range of strategies to decide what they know and can do, and how to use assessment for new learning. So when we say assessment as learning, the students are their own assessors. They set goals for themselves, they decide how to get there, and as they are moving on, getting to their goal, they assess themselves. Man, know thyself, metacognition. That is assessment as learning. So through this process, students are able to learn about themselves as learners and become aware of how they learn. So knowledge of one's own thought process. That is assessment as learning. So in this situation, the students themselves, the learners, they are their own assessors. And this helps students to take more responsibility for their own learning and monitoring their future directions. So when we talk of assessment as learning, we are now at the level that the students are using the process of assessment as part of their learning. They are their own assessors. They know themselves. They have targets. They know where they want to be. They've set a plan how to get there, and as they move on, they ask themselves questions: where they are, what is left for them to achieve, how they can is part of those to be in charge of themselves. The assessment should be part of their learning. That's why we say assessment as learning. So you as a teacher, your role is to model and teach the skill of self-assessment. You have to guide the student to set their own goals and monitor their progress towards them. Because if they know where they are going, they are aware of their ability, what they can do, then they will now know how they can move towards that goal, and they will be monitoring themselves as part of their learning. So you need to guide students to set their own goals and then monitor their progress towards those goals. Then you need to provide exemplars and models of good practice and quality work that reflects the outcome of the curriculum. So sometimes we as educators, as teachers, we don't need to still continue behaving like some pastors. Listen to what I say, but don't look at what I do. No, it shouldn't be. You need to set example. In our area, for instance, in art is life. We do things for people to see. So if you yourself, you are not doing anything, then you are telling them to do it. What do you think will happen? I did a study and I went to about 5 public universities in Ghana. And then one of the departments I was gathering information, some of the things the students were telling me was that, you see, this is our area. I don't want to be specific. This is our area. But our lecturers are telling us to do this. Meanwhile, we've not seen any lecturer who is having this. So what do you expect us to do? I started laughing. So that is the issue. That is the issue we are talking about. Because if you want students to use assessment as part of their learning, that's why we are saying assessment as learning, then you need to provide exemplars and models of good practice and quality work that reflects the curriculum outcome. Then you need to work with students to develop clear criteria, standards, because they need to know what needs to be called A, what needs to be called B, so that when they are heading towards their goal, they will know they are really achieving what they need to achieve. So basically, when we are talking about this purposes of assessment, the assessment of learning, the assessment for learning, the assessment as learning, then this is the broad idea that you need to carry. So if you have this broad idea that you need to carry, the off learning is for accountability. It's the normal things we do. We've taken them through, we want them to be accountable, how much they've gained. That is the off learning. The for learning is formative. You gather the information to help to improve, to modify situations. Then as learning, metacognition, they need to know themselves. They should use assessment as part of their learning. So basically, when I was going through this issue of promotion thing, I came across this. I said, it's better for us to understand the basis. And if you understand the basis, then it will be better. When we meet any kind of question or whatever in that area, because we have the base, it will be easy for us to go through it. All right. Then I'll end with a brief whatever about this issue of techniques, with all these base that we've set for ourselves. When we talk of classroom assessment in general, I would say that it is a systematic approach to formative evaluation. I'm using my word formative, used by instructors to determine how much and how well students are learning. Because in assessment, the focus is on improving learning. When it comes to the summative, yes, for accountability, for other things, certification, but that is not the basis for when you are discussing issue with assessment. Because if the home is bad, forget about it. As we discussed,
Hello, Dr. Eshun. Hello, Dr. Eshun. Hello, Dr. Eshun.
The network.
Hello, yeah, the network.
Oh, technology.
When we get him, what we'll do to him, he'll never be happy with us. He's disturbing us too. That man network is disturbing us too much. Yeah, as we prepare to get in touch with Dr. Eshun in terms of connection, I'm sure we have made our questions ready because that is the first part. Once he finishes presenting, then the questions, the contributions, and opinions come in. So let's prepare our questions and contributions based on what we have heard and whatever we have to share so that we can arrange our understanding about assessment techniques. Hello, Doc. Are you connected now?
Yes, I'm connected. Are we back? Is it okay now? No?
Hello. Yeah, we are back. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone now.
Back.
It's gone now.
Come again. It's gone.
It's off now. It's off. So if you can bring us back.
Okay.
Okay. So if we can go to the full screen mode.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. Hello, listeners.
Okay now.
Yeah, we welcome back
from now.
Yeah, it's okay. We welcome back from the commercial break. Now Dr. Eshun takes over.
Those things that we do that provide be made as necessary. And I think that because we don't have that much time to go through all these techniques, there is a book by Angelo and Cross. I think we have a lot of techniques there for classroom assessment. I will urge members on to get that material online and then acquaint ourselves with some of the techniques there that suit our area. And then if there are issues, we gather those issues concerning whatever that we came across as we were trying to go through it, then handle them specifically to help members. That is my personal something. As I was going through the various techniques, we have a lot of techniques. What I realized is that we have techniques that we can use to assess the knowledge and skills in the course that we are taking the student through. Then we have techniques that we can use to also assess the attitudes, values, and self-awareness. You see, sometimes we tend to forget that we are looking at the holistic aspect of the individual, the cognitive, the affective, and then the psychomotor. But most of the things that we do, mostly, if not only the affective, if not only the psychomotor, it's only the cognitive, or I know it's interrelated, but where you are focusing more, you say you are operating there. But some of the things we do, we focus much on either psychomotor or the cognitive. So we say, oh, these are liberal courses. So it's more of cognitive. So we focus more on cognitive. These are hands-on, technical or vocational, whatever courses. So it's more of psychomotor. Forgetting that they are interrelated. And without the affective aspect of it, whatever goal that we want to achieve, we can never achieve it. So we have techniques that we even use to assess learners' attitudes, values, and then self-awareness. I'm in the field of art. Am I even aware of where I am? What is my attitude towards it? What kind of values do I owe in it? So, and then we also have techniques that we use to assess learners' reactions towards instruction, the way we go about our instruction. So we have various kind of techniques that when we are able to pick and then practice them, we will be able to succeed in whatever that we are doing. And the more we do, the more we get the knowledge, so that when you get to promotion, whether promotion or not, don't forget that without promotion, we still exist. And then we are still doing what we are doing. So we need to be confident in what we are doing. So as we are even thinking of promotion, we are also thinking of building ourselves, knowing, having the confidence in what we do. The point I am making here is that the techniques are many. Even with only Angelo and Cross, they came out with 50 techniques, classroom assessment techniques. Some may not be suitable to our area. Some will be suitable to our area. So I was just even trying to sift through to see some other things that we can use as techniques in our area. And I just picked few of them just to let us have the feel of some of the things that we can do if you want to really gather information from our students for us to make informed decision what we are talking of as assessment. So you have background knowledge probe. And this is very short and simple questionnaire that we can prepare for us to use at the start of our program. You are in the secondary school, you are supposed to handle a set of students who have been sent there to do your program. Do you even find out from their background before you start talking to them the way you talk to them? That is it. And that's why I said, the moment you set your objective, because already the department that you belong to, whether you are head or you are subordinate, you have an objective that you want your student to go through. That starts assessment. Because when they come, before they go through the process, they leave our hands, they should be able to do this. You have your goals. That starts assessment. The question is that those who are in, do you even find out what they are bringing on board? It's part of the assessment process. It's part of the techniques, their background knowledge. And it's a matter of designing something short, simple, asking them something basic questions. And these are the things we don't do. That is why sometimes we talk too much. We take them through certain things too much. When they disappoint us, we get frustrated. This student, so it's all these things I did with them, nothing. They've disgraced me. They've not, because they didn't find out from their background information. We have what we even call the minute paper. And it's only 2 questions that you ask your students. What was the most important thing you learned during this class? And what important questions remains unanswered? It's a very simple assessment technique that we as art teachers, we can easily do. Only 2 questions. And you'll be amazed the kind of responses you get and the kind of ideas you can get from this. Some of us sometimes even put it in practice in the university. And sometimes some of the responses we get, it shapes us so that we know how to handle our students. So we have a lot of techniques that we can easily fall on, use them, that will help us in our job. So basically what I'm saying is that we can go on and on and on with some of these things that we are talking about. But issue with assessment starts the moment you set your goals and objectives. And there are a lot of techniques that we can follow. That's why, let me go back. I gave you the source. Angelo and Cross, 1993. You just go online, sift through. When you have difficulty, Osheni already is having my email address. You can put my email address online. People can get in touch with me because I've gone further. I know what goes into whatever. So that we can't, within this short period, digest all the techniques. That is the picture I'm painting. So that one-on-one with time, we can also get to people, for people to really understand some of these basic things that we can do. And as we are trying to go through them, we need to put them in context. Very important. We need to put them in context. Very, very important. So we need to know that we have techniques that we use for our course related, the skills and knowledge we want them to pick from our course. And that's a normal thing we do. But still we have assessment techniques that we use for us to know the attitude and the values and the self-awareness of the learners. The affective aspect is very, very important. And because we are not focusing on that, that is why we are not getting the best out of our students. Then we also have the techniques that we use to know the reaction of the learners towards our instruction. Because it's not everything that we do with them that suits them. But most often, because we are the champions, we are the directors of the place, we are the controllers, we don't think about them. But in assessment practice, it is not we, it is them. Because that's why I was stressing on the issue of formative. We are only facilitators and we need to facilitate their learning. So I think I laid the base for the start because I was made to understand by my boss Oseni that we have series of webinars. So I want to lay the base for us to have a broad knowledge about this issue of assessment so that when there are specific issues and then we pick them as specifics, then we will handle them as specifics so that members will feel comfortable with whatever they want that is being given to them. Oseni, are you there?
My Lord, I'm here.
So that is the picture I am painting to members on the platform now.
Okay.
That we've set a base for the issue concerning assessment, right? Now, I've also given, when it comes to techniques, we have a lot of them. I only picked few of them to do the slides. That later I'll give to you for you to just put it there for members to have access to. What I'm saying is that members, this being the base, should go further to look at things. Wherever they have issues that they think that we need to highlight more on them, then we now come in specifics that members want to be maybe enlightened more on this aspect of the assessment process. Then as one of those series, as we promised that it will be continuing, we come in and then we give it to them.
Okay. Thank you so much for the juicy presentation. At this juncture, honorable members, honorable presenters, we are inviting your questions, your contribution, your opinions. So we are, please raise your hand, show by hand. Madam Aisha, your hand is up. I've unmuted.
Hello.
You. Yeah, Madam Aisha, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a nice presentation. I've enjoyed it. But I have a question to ask. He spoke about the summative and then formative. And then he's saying that for summative, you can take scores on it. What about the formative one? Does it mean that one you won't, when you conduct that one, you won't take any scores for it?
Ashwini, can I come in?
Hello?
Yeah, you can come in, please.
Thank you, Madam Aisha. You didn't get me well. I didn't say that you don't take scores. What I said was that in principle, when you are doing formative assessment, the focus is on improvement and modification. So whatever information that you gather, you don't use it. When I say penalty, I'm using penalty in the broad sense to punish people. But for you to be aware of where they are, what they need to know, and what you can do to help them. But in our part of the world, we claim we are doing formative assessment, but we still use it to grade the children, and it's still part of the grade. So still there's penalty. You understand what I'm saying? That is the point I was making. That when we say we are doing formative assessment, the focus is on improvement and modifications. It is the summative that we do that we can use to grade, we can use to certify. That is where penalty will come in, because if you don't meet it, that is the point I was making. But in both formative, summative, we still measure, we still quantify, we still get the scores. But those ones, say it's formative. When you get those scores, your duty is to know where they are, where you want them to be, how you can help them to be there. That is the point I was making. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. Mr. Yeboah, Amo Yeboah, please, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor, for the opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Eshun for his presentation, for reminding me some of the things I learned by force to pass the exams. And
Amoya, we are listening. Hello.
The criteria is assessment for. Yes, sir. I'm talking on where we have the assessment for assessment as an assessment as. I think it will run well if we get some kind of RAM for it, for us of that. It will give us the understanding that you have to the formative there to know, to help them know what needs to be done, and they also assessing themselves at the as level, and then the summative one comes. So if you make it for us of, I think it will be of good help. That is my little contribution. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Richard. Can you rewind the track? We're not hearing you well.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we can get some sort of rhyme for it, for us.
Okay.
Rhyme. Okay.
For us.
For us.
Beautiful. Don't go far. Don't go far. We recently have an MOU with Right to Play. This NGO, Right to Play. And Right to Play, a very nice opportunity for us to learn much about how we can use play to let people really understand some of these concepts. So what you are saying is perfectly in line. I think it's very good. We are trying to bring in some of the concepts. We went for a workshop with them. We will be going again. We are trying to bring in some of these concepts that when we are teaching people, we are letting people to understand. We can use play to. So what you are saying is perfect. I think with time, all the other areas, whether arts or whatever, we need to use this issue of play. We need to factor in this issue of play into whatever that we do. It makes learning of concept too easy, and even unconsciously you'll be learning what you don't know. So what you are saying is very, very, very good. I'll think of it and then I'll get back to you and I'll give you the request.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nyamaweru, you have a question. Please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm also grateful for the presentation.
Hello, Nabe, can you position yourself well? The network is not very favorable to us.
Hello. Is it okay now?
Can you position yourself well? We're getting a very poor feed here.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yes.
Hello.
Please go on.
You go on.
Please carry on.
Okay, yeah. The question is that Doc made mention of the fact that the current curriculum is standard-based as against the old one, which was objective-based. What does this mean to our educators as far as assessment is concerned?
Beautiful question. Beautiful question. Yes, I said the former curriculum was objective based, right? And now it's standard based. So what is it for art education? Oh, very nice one. You see, um, yes, now those days you go to class, you set the objective. By the end of this week or by the end of these 2 sessions that you take them through the week, the child should be able to draw so and so. That is your objective. This time we are not saying as teachers should go and set objective that no matter what, within this period of time, this student should be able to draw this. But we set a standard that when this student should move from first term, second term, third term, maybe secondary school 1, this student should be able to tell me as an educator the difference between the head and the neck when it comes to art. I'm only saying something broad. So whatever that you'll be coaching this child to do is towards that goal. So that's why I said differentiated teaching. While some will be able to get there early, others will take time to get there. We are talking of having a standard for every individual within your scope, those that you are training for a particular period where they need to be. So it's not a matter of within a short time, everybody should do this. Because we used to do that. That's why we send them there only once to sit and draw a tree. If you are not able to draw that tree, you are fucking. But it will take somebody 3 sections to go and sit there. And the kind of tree that child will draw will be more better than the tree that somebody you tend to be good will draw within 1 session. That is the point we are making here. So we set the standard. What do we want to see? How would the individuals get there? So that we don't make it to be compulsory that within this short period of time, everybody should be there. That is the point I was making.
Okay.
So that is how we need to look at things now.
Okay.
We have to set standards. The quality of tree we want them to draw, not who can draw within 2 hours. The quality. What will it take John to draw that quality? What will it take AC to draw that quality? How will I help AC to get there? How will I help John to get there? That's the standards we are talking about. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Honorable John Christian, please, your hand is up. A question.
All right. Doctor, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. My challenge has always been that it is always juicy and palatable at the top. Mm-hmm. See, the way you are talking about it, because you are closer to the top, that is why. But when you get to the down there, things are different. There we are constrained by time. What we are supposed to do within the term, we have a lot of things to do. So this standard based, we set target for each child. We are constrained by time. So how do we ensure that the time allocation and all the resources we have merits what you are talking about? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm clapping for you. I'm clapping for you. It's juicy up there, but time constrained down there. We are down there proper than even you. Do you know something? I get you perfectly. I get you perfectly. The issue has to do with output of work. But if you are following current trend now, supervisory role is even being taken from the district offices. Now we are no more going to do like that output of work that you are even so forced to even draw for students so that when they come, they will see that they are doing something. We've passed that stage. And we are no more talking about time now. We are talking about standards. So it's not juicy apple. Even the app cry is not juicy because you are not there. That's why you are saying it's juicy up. But we are also down there. We know what is going down there. So yes, I get you. The constraint with time we talk of time. When it comes to those things, it will push us a little. But within that time that we are even talking about, is we are constrained with time. We use that time for other things we should not use it for. But now we are saying that we are setting standards for ourselves. That is why this time we are going to assess the students at certain levels. We don't even wait for them to get to the peak before we assess them. Times are changing, and we are going to change. And the issue of time, I think will be a thing of the past soon. If really we implement the beautiful thing that is on paper. So I get you perfectly. Yes, output of work. So you are forced to put things there, things that they are even artificial. But I think with what is there now, this time that you are talking about will not work. If only you go by what we are saying you should do and you go by it. That's why I was clapping for you. Beautiful thing, yes, it is true. But it's not juicy up. Nowhere cool. If you're not there, you think it's cool. It's everywhere. But let's think about how best we can work within the little space that we have. But now we are talking about standards. So I think issue of the output of work will be the standard that we set for ourselves. So if really you do this differentiated teaching, you attend to people the way they are, you set your, that's why I said I will plead with Osheni to give us another time for us to even talk about just development of rubrics as arts educators. Just develop, because the nature of our job is rubrics. We need to be specific, what we want to see, how we want to see it. So when we get there, we will cross. But I think now we are talking about standards, and it will work. It won't be the whole thing that you are being stressed out with time. You need to finish this within this time. If not, attitude of work is out, and then you get it. Thank you very much for your concern.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Eshun. He said nowhere cool, and I'm going to Isaac Jan. Isaac, your question, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, Doc, for your presentation, and thank you, Mr. Host. Throughout your presentation, at a point I was trying to make a connection between the assessment and evaluation. And I was relating it to the WASI, BEC, and usually teachers marking in classroom. In the WASI, when you pick a student's result slip, at one side you see that they've written A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and others. And then at the other side, you see very good, excellent, good, and others. So does the numbers and the alphabets form a kind of measurement, and then the remarks, the excellent, very good, and others being judgments? And also, the last question I'll ask is about the book on classroom assessment techniques. Angelo and Cross, I tried to check, but it seems it is on sale.
Hello.
Hello,
Doc.
I can't hear him. Is
Well,
he still
you
on?
went off. Jan, can you rewind your question, please?
Yes, I was trying to make a connection between assessment, measurement, and evaluation. You said evaluation is more of a judgment. So when you pick a child's BC or WASI results, one side they have written alphabets A, B, C, D, and others. And then on the other side, you see, does the alphabets form a kind of measurement, and then the remarks being judgments? So that's the question that I want to ask.
Beautiful. I think that those alphabets are representing a range of numbers. Those alphabets, as you see, maybe 80 to 100 is A. That is a score. It's a symbol to represent those numbers. So they've measured them. Then what is that A? Is it even good, excellent? They are judging. That is evaluation. So you are on the right track. The only problem I have is that you go to some schools, they mix issue with average with absolute terms. You see the same report, you will see excellent, very good, good. Then they will come to average and then fail or below average. You can't mix them. Because when you talk of average, the way they use that average is not how it's supposed to be. Average is a group characteristic. You can never get average until you use the performance of the group to determine it.
And
Most teachers confuse. So what you are saying, you're on track. Most teachers confuse average with half of a score, of a maximum score, which is not true. It can be at a particular point in time, but average is not half of a total score. So if they want to do classification using average, then the best they can do is above average, far above average, average, below average, far below average. They cannot miss them because a group can have, if the total score is even 100, the maximum score is 100. A group's average can even be 10 if they are not good. When you put their result together, you find the center, it can be 10. A group's average can be 100. So if you have range of scores that you are going to use letters to represent, then there's no basis for bringing in average as part of the value you are putting on them. So what you are saying, yes, is in line. But sometimes we see some of these things, they miss them. But when we get opportunity and we meet, we talk to people for them to understand that when we are going with very good, excellent, and whatever, there's no business bringing average there because average is a group characteristic. Anybody who has studied statistics to a certain level understands what I'm saying. So what you are thinking is perfect. Those letters, as you see, they are representing a range of scores. That is quantification. And then they are now putting value on them, the weight of them. That is evaluation. So if you are thinking along that line, yes, you are not far from right. Thank you very much.
And I also needed to know whether the book you recommended, The Angelo and Cross, whether it's on sale or, because I tried to check and it's like, it's not available for download.
No, you need to, if you get in touch with me and let's see how you go about it. But if you want to go and you don't know where to go, you need to buy.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Jenny. Your mic. Unmute yourself, Jenny. I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we will actually have to, if we have to, whatever. The presenter will give us some materials which we will upload on Google Drive for members to access and do further reading on the subject matter. And as he indicated early on, we know he's very, very busy, but he will find some time so that we will do something on the art, certain rubrics in art. I think we'll be very happy to have him again. We can't have enough of him. That's great. Yeah. So please, any other question, contributions, suggestions for us? Yeah, Madam Gertrude Agbenaza, your question, please. Unmute yourself, Madam Gertrude. Hello, Getty.
Yes, I'm there.
Okay.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you now, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. In fact, it's an eye-opener. Many years of teaching in the classroom, there are revelations that we are getting now. Thank you so much. Please, I want to ask if there's any, like the new curriculum has any provision for especially public basic schools where the enrollment is very large, because we are talking of standard. For one teacher handling over 30, 40 people, it will be difficult for that teacher to actually do the work that the new curriculum is
has brought for us to do if there is any provision made for the Ministry of Education to look at those schools where the class, as the class is more than 30, that particular class should have at least 2 teachers so that the right work will be done. Thank you.
All right, Gertrude.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your concern is very genuine, and
yeah,
you've been in this for a very long time, and thank God, gradually we are getting there. I hope that as we move on, if things should move the way it's being planned to move, some of these concerns will be addressed. Because what you are saying, perfect. With all this number of kids, how do we do effective teaching? Not to think of effective assessment for us to know them to make informed decisions. So it's very genuine. You've been with it. But we are hoping that they've started, and let's see how it will go. Let's pray for our people to help us to help the children. So I think we will get there. But a genuine concern, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Please, any other question? John Anna, I saw your hand up. Is John Anna online? Any other question, contribution, opinion? Okay, Richmond, please, your question. Richmond, please, unmute yourself and let's hear you.
Okay, Doctor, please, you have given us specifics. That is for formative and summative. What that word will you give us for the middle one?
Middle one.
Assessment. Yes, sir.
Assessment. You mean assessment as
which middle one?
Yeah, assessment. Assessment as. What word will you give us?
Metacognition. I'll give you metacognition.
Please come again, sir.
I said I'll give you metacognition. Metacognition.
Okay. Thank you.
Man, know thyself.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. There's I think all the hands are, I think all the questions are exhausted. But please, if you have any questions, you're still welcome. Our presenter has been so very generous with us regarding time and the presentation. So please, if you have any questions, suggestions, you can come up with it. Okay. In the absence of questions, suggestion, opinion, I thank you all for joining us on this important webinar. I know many have joined us. They have a bigger screen and then they are all listening on whatever. So you may not see many of them on the platform, but they have a laptop they are all watching from. And we also recorded this. We're going to put it out there on our YouTube channel. You can go and listen again to remind yourself. In fact, I will employ one of the Council of Elders, Dr. Emerson, to say a word of thank you to our presenter, because he's so busy, but he made time to come. I really appreciate it. But I think Dr. Emerson can say it better for us. So, Dr. Emerson, please unmute yourself and thank him for us.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Dr. Peter Eshun.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, brother, on behalf of the Arts Teachers Association of Ghana, we thank you so much for making time with us and sharing some ideas on what you are giving us this afternoon. We are so grateful, and we believe when we need you the next time, you open up and help us shape the association. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you also. Thank you very much. We are here to serve, so when there's time, we'll make ourselves available.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. And let me also remind all participants, and we can also share it, that every Tuesday and Thursday we meet on this webinar, and we have different presenters that come on board. And in one of these sessions, as our presenter has made us aware, we'll bring him on board as and when he has time, and then he takes us through the rubrics. In fact, I have learned a lot. You have reminded me of so many things that I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This is how time will bring us. This is how far time will bring us. Thank everybody once again for coming. Until we meet on Tuesday, coming is bye for now.